Okay, so we are at 6. Let me get the right camera selected. So welcome. Another Thursday night, the last one before Christmas, and been a fun week. Gotten into some new shenanigans with some pencils and lead holders. Had another spoke pencil arrive today, and I have family visiting. I got a new typewriter that was actually my mom's typewriter that she's had since the 50s. And it's actually ironically one that I had on my list of, oh, I'd like to get one of those in the future because I had no idea what it was. So I'll show that a little bit because it's a cool blue color. It's an Olivetti, and I'm just really excited about it. I put some new ribbon in it this morning, and it types great. So yeah, let's go on and get started. I want to start with looking at, this morning the Colorverse video came out for this third week, and I'll do the same thing I did last time and not do the final ink. Let me take the final one out and put that over here. We've already gone through on the last stream the first two, so this is what, 13 through 18, I believe. Okay. So this will be everything up through today, so it's not spoiling the tomorrow if you're doing this yourself and you don't want to see the ink for tomorrow. Let me zoom this in a little. So if you haven't seen the video yet, these are the colors. Hey, Ann, good to see you. And as I say in the video, I'm still very impressed with this calendar. I chose well for me. There's very few of these inks that I don't think I will use, or that I think will go unused. Like even this one. This is a shimmer, and I'm not normally a shimmer person, and I actually like this because it's like a yellowish green, but it's got blue shimmer in it, and it's really tiny shimmer. So, little things like that just, or this diamond planet, like a true deep purple, that'll definitely end up in a pen at some point. Yeah, and this was a good mixture. Just the whole calendar, but even this week has been a good mix because the Golden Mist, it reminds me of the Aroshizuku Toro. And I know the lighting, changed the lighting so it's better on the streams, but it's still a little bit wonky on some colors and things. But this reminds me of Toro. Yeah, the yellow pops, and hey, good to see you, Nicole. And this Maven mission is interesting because it seems like lately most purples, and that's why the Diamond Planet was such a nice change of pace. So many purples have been sheening over green. And it's like, okay, do you want a green ink or do you want a purple ink? Because half of these are starting purple, and it's gonna be purple, and then it's green when it's done. So, I think my general dislike of super sheeners like that is kind of known if you've watched any of my videos, but it's still a decent color because it's, even though it does sheen over green, it's not as vibrant of a green as some of the others. Hey, Adeline, yeah, the typing of the cards, that's been a huge improvement for me. It shows up well on the stream. I'm going to be able to read these after the fact, and it's not going to be like having to read them through some sort of translation. Now, in hindsight, and next time I do more ink cards that have days, I'll type on the bottom here as well with the actual day, but I didn't want to run the ink swatched cards back through any of the typewriters. So writing it there, it works for these. But like the Polar Night, I think that's an ink that Beth will more than likely use. Diamond Planet, I will use that. Purple is one of those colors that I like. Sometimes it's like, oh, I need to use purple, but not all the time. And like I said, I'm very tempted to even use a shimmer ink. Of the two Colorverse, so the two glistening inks that have been in this calendar so far, both of them, I'm like, hey, that's not so bad. It's not like overpower, because what's the other one? This Milky Sea. With it being like kind of the dark blue, but then just the slightest little bit. So maybe it's just the blue shimmer that's what's winning me over a little bit. But yeah, Diamond Planet, that one is definitely going to get used. So, but that's the Inkvent. And then so which one of these did I put in? So I talked about it last week. The Flame Nebula is now in my first pin that I made, the one with Nick Pasquale. The Ackerman was starting to dry a little bit more in my nib than I cared for, so I cleaned it out and swapped over to the Flame Nebula, and that's been working great. So, no, inks, that's why these calendars are nice, because you get to try a bunch of inks, and yes, the calendar is kind of expensive, but let's be realistic. Most of us are never going to finish half the bottles we have, and if we're buying full bottles, that's going to be even harder to finish. So at least these being the, like the Colorverse size bottles, it's enough to get a few fills, but not so much that you're going to be like, oh no, am I ever going to finish this? Like a big Ackerman bottle or a Birmingham Pen Company, something like that, where you're talking about, 100 milliliters versus 15. This is much more manageable. And I just like the look of these bottles. Some people don't care for the little teardrop shape, but I think they look pretty cool. The only thing I would change is if they would stack better, because having a bunch of these on the ink shelf takes up a lot of space, because you can't really double stack them like you can some of the other ink bottles. But overall, really enjoying this. I haven't really been following along as well as I should on the Diamine calendars and what's going on there, but I think it's just going to be easier to look after the fact, see what all is there after, and then if there's anything that I'm like, oh, I must have that one ink, I'm sure I can find someone and get a sample. But so didn't want to spend too much time on the Colorverse, because it has the own. I've put videos out on those, and that's a lot easier to talk about the different colors and whatnot. And I am glad I decided to do 4 videos of 6. That seems to be working out pretty well. In terms of last year trying to do a video a day, I didn't really know what I was getting into, and that really wasn't sustainable. But once I started, I kind of had to finish it. So this is a much easier process, at least putting videos out. And speaking of videos, I just released 2 nights ago my top pins that I acquired in 2025, and that video is doing better than most any video I've done in quite some time. It was interesting looking through. I did, from best count, add just under 50 pins if you include like the preppies and the cocunos when I was doing the week of only starter pin challenge and stuff like that. So I did do the ranking, and for me, the most boring looking pin won because of the nib, the Pilot 912 with the posting nib. So definitely go check out that video if you haven't seen it. It was interesting trying to go through, because even in, let me see if I have the page here or if I ripped it out, in trying to go through and compile the list of what all I got this year. Seeing if so let me switch to this here. This is, and by the way, I'll talk about this here in a moment, but this Canopus paper, I've been using more pencils the last week, and I'll show those here in a minute, but Canopus and pencil works really well together, especially lead holder pencil. But this was my list. So let me see if I can knock the light down one more level so it shows a little better. There we go. So all the maker pins, which I didn't rank because those are all individual. Oh, thanks for stopping in for a little bit, Nicole. Best to wish to your dad. Hopefully he's on a road to recovery. But have a good evening. And then all of these over here were all the production-ish pins that I could remember. And then there's some that I bought this year that I don't really use often. Like these are the TWSBI Ecos that I use just for the continuity and paper testing and things like that. But it was kind of scary to look back and compile the list. And then towards the end of last year into this year, it was kind of a when did I get that? I had to go back and look at when I had released some videos, like my Kaweco piston. Technically, I bought it, I guess, at the end of last year, but I started using it, like the video came out in January. So there's some of those that were kind of borderline, but overall, I think the list would still stay true. I didn't mention in the video like pins that hindsight, what I know now, I might not have bought. If I had to choose from the list, the Wingsung 930, I bought it because it was comically large and I just thought it was interesting to have. I've not used it since that video. It kind of leaks, but it's still neat to have like the stupid big fountain pen and then put it next to something like the Lilliput. The Pilot Prera, I gave it a shot, but because it needs the Con 40 converters, unless you're going to put a cartridge in it, that's one that I probably would not buy again and not really suggest to people. Just, it didn't have any, I mean, it writes fine, but it didn't have any like oomph. It didn't have any something that really said, oh, this is fun to write with. Practical, but I think for most of my pins now, and that's why I'm really liking the Maker pins, I want something that's a little bit more fun when using them. And then, other than that, the Innova TI, I need to use that more. It has the titanium nib. I would still have purchased that, but with this number of pins, it's been hard to get a good rotation. I have the 2 pin blocks, which I'll be doing a paper/notebook video and then an accessory video coming up. I have notes in here of things to cover on those, but I just haven't felt like paper and notebooks, different papers like the Krina Spark, the Canopus Earful, the Notsu cards, the Nakabayashi papers, the Colorverse Nebula, the Logical Airs, the more Nakabayashi, the Yamamoto paper testing, and the Nimesine. I have to go through and kind of decide rankings on those. I didn't do a ton with inks this year, but like the Lamy Crystals, the Amarillo inks, and some of those. So those are going to be coming up soon. But one thing I'm not going to do a video on this year because I just got them, so it wouldn't be fair, is I mentioned I'm using a lot more pencils. And I might have gone a little bit overboard in the past few days. It may be just a tad, as you can tell. And I'm okay with it because I've been using them and I'm using them with the current leads that are in there before I start playing with all the variety of the other leads. Let me lighten this up a little. That is a little dark. That'll show a little bit better there. So I went to Gentleman Stationer. I started watching a new YouTube channel where the guy's a machinist and he does kind of architectural or drafting drawings of what he's making. And that kind of hooked me, and that I liked that technical type drawing because I've been doing a little bit of the same as I've made some pins, drawing it out. I haven't bought that yet, Anne. I had this from the Gentleman Stationer subscription box, and this did not fit in the back of my rotor fodden, so I got 2 of the smaller ones so they fit in there because I take that into the garage as I'm doing pen stuff. That's become my pen book. And then I really loved the Spoke Model 8 so much I got a second one, and that's why one does not have the back cap on it. This one just arrived today, so I put some B lead in it, and then the other has HB, just to have that variety, because one of these is going to become the garage pencil with all my pen making stuff, just to have a good pencil there. And then one of the notebooks, yet to be determined which one, will also just kind of live in the little rolling table desk thing that I have. I'm going to turn that music down a little. The song's getting a little bit louder, but onto the lead holder. So I got this one as the first one, the Caran d'Ache fixed pencil. And if you're not familiar with lead holders, essentially this is a clutch style. So it has the larger leads, and it just kind of grabs on. And let me get this zoomed over. And Adeline, that's one thing I bought. One of these I'll show in a second, and I have a couple more because, I mean, why would I stop at 4 lead holders when I can have 7? There's one of these that has the little indicator, and I wish they all did. And I'm kind of surprised that like the rotor ring here doesn't. But that's a clutch pencil where you can just pull the lead, and then for sharpening, this, I'm not gonna lie, I had to look up a video of how to use this because it didn't have any instructions. So these little holes here, this one's for like a sharper point for art. This one's more, a little bit less sharp for drawing. And what you do, which this is what I was not figuring out, I broke the fixed pencil lead a couple of times. You kind of open the clutch inside of there, and that puts it at the right level that you need. And then you just put it in there and you go around, which I don't know why, but that just, and then you get a nice sharpened lead holder. Now, with some of these things like the Roto Ring Rapid Pro, hey David, this is a lead holder, and let me zoom out one because I'm realizing I'm putting some of this out of the camera. So this is a click lead holder, so you can just click like more like a mechanical pencil, but the body did not fit in there to sharpen it. So then, you know, when you're looking around and you see a picture of something, you're thinking, oh, that's going to be large. Well, this is the tiniest pencil sharpener, and that just goes around, and then it's traditional, like tiny little thing like that. So this is nice because it fits well in whatever. So any, you know, even one that'll fit in the Staedtler like spinny sharpener will work with this, but it's so interesting. Yeah, pretty much I started with what Gentleman Stationer had, and I think I missed, because I think there's a container of B lead that I probably need to get as well. So I've got F, HB, 2B, 3B, and 4B, so I should have 1B. I just realized those are blocked by the chat. So my plan is to, you know, I'm getting used to what I like about the different pencils and the grips. And then I'll probably end up getting some other of these. This was the cheapest pencil, but it's a metal body, and it actually has the indicator that Adeline was talking about in the chat. So on this, you can turn. Let me see if I can get it to focus. I don't think it's going to focus that close. But in there, it has the different lead options. Now, it doesn't have all of these, but, you know, since I don't have a 2H lead, I could do the 2B or an H, or this one has 2B. It doesn't have like the 3B and 4B. So at least it's an indicator to know what's in what. And then I'll probably end up doing something either washi or something like that to help differentiate more. But a couple of these will end up with the pen making stuff. Some will end up, I've been using this week, I've written actually more with these lead holders than I have fountain pens. I didn't realize, I've always liked pencils, but then they don't really write dark enough. Lead holders write so much darker, and it fits my block writing style really well. So like for work stuff, it's been lead holders, and I've been going through rotating of seeing which one I like. I like the look of this, but it's too light. So this was probably my least favorite of these so far, the Staedtler. Now it's the most traditional drafting style, you might say. But, you know, it's still going to get some use. But I tend to like these metal body heavier ones. One, because they've got better knurling. That's one reason why I liked these spokes so much. This is the best knurling I've ever had on any pencil. So ideally, and I've been mentioning it to Brad on multiple streams now, if Spoke made a 2mm clutch holder with this knurling, sign me up. I need multiple already. Even if they don't have the indicator, and this is something I'm going to play around with because Spoke stuff is kind of modular. I think I might be able to swap one of my other color clips from my CX pen onto here. I haven't played around with it yet. I might ask Brad before I, get too far in, but actually, so that does loosen. So I could take the clip off of one, but I like having the clips. But if I could put a different color clip on there, that would be enough to differentiate these two leads. And then I don't have to leave the bare eraser, which I don't really like that look. So that's just my diving into pencils and I'm really liking it. I'd never used a lead holder. My dad's an engineer and my parents are actually in town visiting. And that's something I'm going to show here in a minute. But when I was a kid, I would always go into the desk drawer and get like his good mechanical pencils. And then there was always like a container of lead and a lead holder, which I didn't know what they were, didn't know what to do with them. So, I would often take stuff out of the drawer that I shouldn't and use. So it's just ironic to come in kind of full circle. In fact, I was asking if they knew. The other thing I remember playing with a lot was, my dad had a mechanical or an electric eraser that it has like reusable eraser and it's plugs in or it's battery powered. I don't remember which, but for erasing like large things or really detailed, you can like sharpen the point on the eraser. So those are some things I plan to, next time they come and visit, they're going to bring that if they find it. This is the other little thing I picked up from, Spoke as well, just a little stand. So I think for the one that goes in the garage, that's probably where I'll use that because I've got more room on my desk for during the day. But I kind of like that, so it's easy to grab, do whatever, put it in there, so it doesn't get under tools or stuff like that. And then this is just a little bag I bought from Vanessa. I think it was on clearance on one of the orders I placed a while back. It's a Raymay, and I've been keeping just all the graphites in one side and then all the stuff in the other. So it's been a nice little thing to carry around around the house to have the pencils versus just carrying them loose. So it's been an interesting change in that, I never would have guessed that I would prefer, or this week has been writing almost exclusively pencils, and that's just kind of surprising to me. But on to some other things. So as I mentioned, my parents are visiting, and I talked about this briefly before, in that with the typewriters, so there was always one growing up that I was never allowed to use. I didn't really know anything about it. Well, I now have it. The Staedtler lead Adeline is, of the ones in there, it's pretty decent. It's just the one piece I have, and I think it comes with HB. But I did, let me see if I have it here. One of these pages, I did just loaded up the different 2B, 3B, 4B, etc. and did just a single line of writing somewhere in here to have a comparison point. If I can find the page. So the Staedtler, let me switch back to this and fix the lighting because that's blowing out really bad. So when actually I didn't do the Staedtler on this one, so I'll have to go back and add that in, but so far in just normal writing, it's been fine. It sharpens well, especially with that little Staedtler sharpener. And one other thing on that sharpener, it does have this little white thing that I thought was an eraser at first, but it's actually like a little fibrous thing where after you sharpen, you can dip the end of the pencil in there to pull any of the remnants of the sharpening off so you don't get it on your paper, which is nice because that is one thing. This sharpens very graphite dust heavy. And if I can grab one out that's not a spoke. There we go. So you have that, and you can just dip it in there and it'll just leave a little mark, and that way you don't have shavings. Because on one of these pages where I was messing around earlier on, you can see what happens if you don't do that, or if you try and use the little included sharpeners on the back, you end up with that. and that's pretty much on there now. It's not coming off. So just a little something there. But something I was gifted is kind of an early Christmas present, and that I'd had on my list. Let me see if I choose the right. So that is the mythical typewriter that I didn't know what it was, that I was never allowed to play with as a kid. And it's actually a really desired typewriter in the typewriter world. It's an Olivetti Underwood Studio 44. And I'll bring it over here on the overhead camera, but it types perfectly. I put a new ribbon in it this morning. My parents just got here last night, and it had a single color ribbon, so I put in the dual color, rethreaded it. It types wonderfully. It's in like perfect condition. It even has the dust cover and the undermat you'd put like on a table to protect the table. And I'll zoom out here to try and get as much of this in here. It's just big enough to take up pretty much the entire desk. And let me fix the lighting here a little since I don't have paper. So you can see, if nothing else, the color. I mean, it's a very unique color. That's the Olivetti. It's made in Barcelona. And the interesting story my mom told me last night is my grandpa I think he owned a Chevy dealership. He passed away before, when I was like 2, so I never knew my grandpa, but apparently this was purchased with points that Chevrolet offered as they sold cars at their dealership. They could like redeem them. So my grandpa ended up redeeming points to get this and gave it to my mom. So that's kind of cool to have that history, but I don't know why I'm such a sucker on these typewriters for the little paper holders. And the ears fold up, and I'll slide it. You can see the Smith Corona I have. There's something with that. And then with this being a travel, that will fold in and out. So I'm just way too excited about that. This weekend I have 3 letters I need to get out, and this is going to be put through its paces to do that. The other thing that was gifted is my sister is a teacher, and someone donated to her drama department that she didn't want to throw it out, I think late 30s Smith Corona typewriter that's in my garage currently. So I need to dig into that and see what's coming of it. So I'm up to 7 typewriters, so it should be no surprise why I had multiple lead holders, because why get one when you can get multiple? That's always a safe bet, I guess. So very excited about that. That was a surprise. I knew it was a typewriter. It had like just a white case, and that's what I remember all the time of, oh, it's the white case. And then opening it, seeing what it was. I texted pictures to a couple people, and I was like, oh my gosh. It was like that kind of surprise of, hey, here's a perfect condition Olivetti, and then looking up what some of those are going for in like a restored state and seeing that they're in the $600 or $700 range is kind of common. I was like, oh my gosh, that's just kind of ridiculous. It's not going anywhere. That's going to be put to use along with the others, but that was just a neat little side thing. So in terms of upcoming videos, I mentioned I'm going to be doing the top papers and notebooks of this last year, the top accessory items this last year, and then this was gifted to me by Lisa Vaness. This is some Lissio paper she picked up when she was in Japan recently. So she sent this back to Nashville with Joe from Gentleman Stationer, and this was divided between myself and I'm gonna mention that they didn't have it published where I could do the automatic link from the stream before. But I'm going to do this with my paper testing, this Licio. Oh, hey, Lisa. Just to try it out because it's interesting. And then the other thing that I plan on picking up this weekend is Gentleman Stationer just got in the Graphilo paper in A5, A4, A5 Slim notebooks, square notebooks. So I plan on picking up a A5 Slim to go in the rotor fodden, and then some loose leaf A5 to kind of go through the same paper thing. I want to see in person though. There's a ruling called Zero, I think it is, which is like white lines of some sort. And I don't know how that's going to work. So I wanted to see that before I choose one. But in talking to Joe, because I saw it before last weekend when I had to swap out the fixed pencil, because we learned that the ones that he had on the shelf were actually 3mm. So he sent the wrong ones. So I bought all this lead and I get home and I was like, I'm going to put the new lead in there. And it was like, it wouldn't fit. So I thought I was doing something wrong. Turns out, 3mm lead versus 2, but I look forward to using this. And then there was another little like ink testing thing that's like Bible size for the plotter stuff. So I'm going to play around with that as well. But the Graphilo, that's going to be cool to use. But one thing I wanted to mention is, I have the YouTube channel memberships and put a link up there to how to join. So for the $1.99 a month, I have added a Discord for channel members. And I also added another level. So as I'm not quite ready to start selling pins yet, I added a level that it's like $9.99 a month. But after 10 months, you get a pin. I thought that was a good way. That gives me plenty of time to be sure the pins are at a quality that I would feel comfortable sending out. But then also it's a way of, supporting, but also getting something in return for that kind of support. So if that's something you're interested in, the link is there in the chat of how to look at the YouTube channel memberships and sign up. It's kind of like YouTube's version of Patreon. So if you're already supporting other creators on Patreon, it's the YouTube version. I just thought it was easier to do it through one way versus trying to split. I'd rather spend more time making videos, and I really like the live stream stuff and just kind of integrating it all. It's just for this, time consuming side hobby that I really enjoy. I want to keep it simple as I can while doing that. So check that out. And then after this stream is done, and I'm going to see if I can copy the link and edit stuff. So it'll send you there automatically. When my stream is done, the stream will be going on for the first time on the new account for On the Paper podcast, which is Joe from Gentleman Stationer and Lisa Vaness. And they will, they're starting that essentially now, but more at the end of the into next year is when it's truly starting. And I think it's going to let me save that. Yeah. So after the stream is done, I'm going to pretty much wrap it up right around before that'll start. It should direct you that way. If you don't have the channel, because I think they only have like a couple of subscribers or something. So actually it looks like it's going to be on the Gentleman Stationer channel tonight, not on the new channel, but make sure you're subscribed there. And I don't know if someone like Lisa or Ann, if y'all happen to have the On the Paper on the Paper Trail podcast link that you can throw in the chat, just so people can subscribe there for that, because that'll be cool. And then it's only making me look forward to restarting season 2 of the DWRD Net stationary feed, which will start at the beginning of the year. I'm really looking forward to the interviewing people again and talking to them. And, so that's going to be starting at the first part of this next year as well. So lots of stuff going on. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. So that's the link there in the chat for their new channel they created. So it has a separate place. So it's not just on Gentleman Stationer and not just on Vanessa. They have a combined thing. Yeah, Thursdays are becoming initially when I did Thursday, I was like, okay, there's not much else going on. So now it's trying to mix times where, it's kind of nice though to have a kind of set in time. Because if you watch, like Olive Octopus Lisa's Twitch streams or Pen Addict or Ink Dependence Mike, they all kind of stack. Like when one ends, the next one starts. So YouTube doesn't have the raid function where you can automatically choose somebody. So being able to link that next video is about the best thing we have equivalency wise. So, that'll be nice just to help support, especially those two stores, those two people, because they support me and having been great encouragement as I've, over this last year, as I kind of decided, hey, I'm going to do this. And it's been really fun to do and a fun journey. So the other thing I wanted to, there was something else and my brain is blanking on what else I was going to be talking about tonight. Yeah, there's pin drops and who has dropped tonight. I hadn't seen that because I've been trying to be good about not buying other pins. I've not been with just schedule of work and visiting family and whatnot. Oh, okay. So Luke, Papa J Studio, and then Skogsy. So those will be, I think. Oh yeah, that's right. Luke is releasing, I think, the Christmas pins tonight. So if you like those or you're not familiar, go to Papa J Studio on Instagram is where he'll probably have the link when those are released. And then Skogsy, I have the Micarta pin, which I really like, and someday I'm still gonna get an Elved. I'm gonna wait until next year before I try and add one of those in. So lots of good stuff happening into the year, just in time for Christmas coming up. But in terms of letter writing and whatnot, I'm going to try, I didn't plan well enough in advance to get some sort of Christmas postcards or letters. But I did want to mention, if you're not familiar, if you'd like to receive a letter, then you can submit on that Google form that I just put in the chat your address, and it just goes to me. It's not public anywhere, and that's just so I can send a letter. A lot of the names I recognize in chat have received things before. In fact, almost all that I can see who have commented have received something, and I'm going to try and work through now, aside from the 3 that are still pending that are going to get typewriter use this weekend, start kind of circling back through the list and sending some other postcards and letters. Have a little bit more downtime over the holidays to kind of get caught up on some of that. But that's really been another fun side project, especially mixing in the typing versus writing, and now being able to do some of the writing with pens I've made. It's an odd feeling, but it's a cool feeling of, I'm writing this because I was able to write for the first time, because the bottom of a letter, as a fountain pen person, you probably write what pen you're using and what ink is in there. And, it was a postcard I sent the other day, and I was like, oh, this is Fire on Fire. And I was like, wait, this is a pen I made. So I got to write, because I haven't thought of names or anything, because I'm not at that level yet. I can make pins, but they're not quite make 2 that are exactly the same. That's my next goal as I work through this process, to be able to make a copy of one of the ones I've already made. And that's where the drawing and the pencils all kind of came in, to have that blueprint of sorts to try and make that same exact dimensions. And then I also figured out an issue I was having because I couldn't read a ruler. That happens as well, where my sections were shorter than I liked, and I didn't know why. And it was just because I was not paying attention. I marked the wrong spot on my ruler next to the saw when I cut the blank into pieces. So that has since been corrected, where my sections are not going to be so stubby. They'll be like kind of a normal section size that you'd see on most pins. So that was one of those things I was asking Nick, and I sent a text to Jim Hines saying, what am I doing wrong here? And it was just, it was me. I was looking at the ruler wrong, and there's nothing you can do but laugh. But all part of the process. The pins still are nice with the shorter sections, but it'd be a little bit better to be able to hold it, because I hold my pins pretty far forward. I sent a pin to my friend Chase, who was the guest one on the stationary feed, and he's a lefty, so he holds his pin a little bit further back, so he's holding more on the thread. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, making dimensions that kind of span a larger user subset. So, eventually, as I get some more pins kind of sent out to people to be, have something as a thank you or whatnot, but also help be product testers to give feedback. So, oh yeah, I like the dimensions of this, but if this was a little bit longer, it might be a little bit better, because that's the only way I'm really going to know, because I'm very skewed, because I'm going to make something that's comfortable in my hand, but that might not apply if you hold your pen further back or you have a different grip. So that's all part of the fun as well, honestly, trying to figure out what the next steps will be. But I think I'm going to keep it pretty short tonight. I have the link up, which should direct you over to the other thing. Since I do have family visiting, I'm going to wrap up a little bit shorter than normal tonight. So don't forget at 7:15ish that you can go over to the Gentleman Stationer channel, and they'll have Lisa and Joe have a live stream there. Oh, Lydia, thanks for upgrading. And I do have, like I said, if you're interested in the memberships, I have the next level of membership up there now, and the Discord. The Discord is something I've had literally sitting around since January 1st of last year, and I hadn't done anything with it because a lot of other places were opening Discords. But now that I need a place to talk about as people are going to be sent pins, I want to be able to give updates and things like that are, controlled to the people who are receiving them. So that was just the best way to do it. So I don't anticipate the Discord being overly active, but I also do like that around my channel and people who are watching, there's a little community that's kind of a community within a community of sorts that's already formed naturally. And that'll just be cool to add that, to be able to add in the conversation. A lot of us are in other communities as well, so we still interact in multiple ways, but that'll just be nice to segment the information about the pins, because some of the early supporters that I've already kind of closed off at the first dozen, they're going to be getting a gift at some point already. And then, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully over the holidays, I'm going to get the first couple of those complete. Because I honestly am looking forward to sending this stuff out once it's ready, just as much as I am making and going through this whole process. So, hope all of you have a good evening. Definitely go check out the On the Paper Trail podcast live episode. And I assume next time it'll be on the new channel. So go find that channel as well that Lisa Olive Octopus put a link to earlier in the chat. So that way you can subscribe there and help them, help feed the algorithm to get their channel seen. Make sure to keep an eye out for the videos coming up soon of the top paper and notebooks for last year, top inks of last year, and then top accessories of last year. It's a great way to look back at everything that added in. And this last year was probably the biggest stationery year I've ever had, because with doing the channel and talking about this with more frequency, I've naturally acquired more things. So it's taking a little bit more effort to kind of sort through what all I got in this last year, and then be able to give information about it. Hey, Rahul. So tonight's going to end up being a little bit shorter. But with you, if you haven't seen, I did add a Discord for channel members. There's a post about it on the community page. So definitely add there, because the first 12 channel supporters are going to be getting something eventually. So I want to be sure I have a way to track all that. So if you're not on Discord, I have 2 different posts that I made. One of how to link your YouTube channel to your Discord, so it should automatically show you that you have an open invitation to join, or you can manually join. And seeing the usernames, I've been able to sort some people as they've joined into the right permission, so that they see the kind of special area in there. So, hope you'll have a good night. If I don't talk to you or don't see anything before the holidays, hope you have good holidays, whatever you're doing, whatever you celebrate. And, I won't have a stream next week, I don't believe, because of holidays, but I look forward to getting more streams happening and getting back to doing the interviews. And now that I have the video bugs mostly worked out, just making some of these other videos that are on the written down with the notes. I just have to film them. So I'm going to leave you there. Have a good evening, and I'll catch you next time.